Reno for my YouTube channel, Planet Reno, and wanted to do a little video intro and maybe a little PS at the end for my interview with Jeff Scott Soto from the band W.E.T. Of course, they've got a new album, Rise Up, coming out on February 26th here in the States, and of course, you know Jeff from his time with Yngwie Malmsteen. Of course, his band Talisman. You can't pick up a tribute album without seeing him contributing vocals. Playing with some of the best names in the business, and of course, I find it hard to find an album where he doesn't provide backing vocals for some great bands, and we talk about that. We talk about the new album. We talk about Northwest PA weather and Saigon Kick reunion. We even talk about that a little bit, but a fun interview. Great guy, and again, I want to thank Jeff for calling in. I want to thank Smitty for hooking us up with the advanced copy of Rise Up and getting me in touch with Jeff Scott Soto. So check it out. It's a great new album, and we didn't really get to go into all the detail on Big Hair Saturday Night, where we got to, if you're able to tune us in, we played the interview last Saturday night, and I couldn't fit it all in because we talked for quite some time, good 20 minutes or so, and I couldn't fit it all in to the time constraints of the show. So this is kind of the director's cut of the interview, where we talk about, you'll hear all the stuff we talked about on the show, but there's a few more things we had to cut out for time, but wanted to put it all out there for you to be able to check out. So here it is, my interview with none other than Jeff Scott Soto. It's Reno here for Big Hair Saturday Night, and I have the pleasure of talking to quite possibly one of the hardest working men in rock and roll today, Mr. Jeff Scott Soto. How's it going?
Great. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Of course, everyone knows you from your time with Yngwie Malmsteen, Talisman, your solo career, as well as Steel Dragon and the Rockstar soundtrack. But you've got a relatively new outfit called W.E.T. Tell everybody who's not familiar a little bit about the band, how it got started.
Well, it's a relatively new band. It's about 4 years in the making here. We were pieced together by our label, our collective labels. We're all in the same label together with our different bands. And one of the key members is in a band called Work of Art. Another key member is in a band called Eclipse, and myself from the band Talisman. And that's kind of where we derived the name from. We couldn't really come up with a name that we all agreed on, number one, but number two, it really was the kind of collecting of the three entities that put us what we sounded like together, and kind of the reason we came up with the name W.E.T. It's the kind of to pay homage to the three bands we came from. It was just an idea to put us together as a project, as a studio project. If we sold maybe 200 or 300 copies to our collective fans, it would have been a great thing, and we didn't really see too much into it beyond that. But the damn thing sold like gangbusters. It outsold all the three bands combined, if that's even possible, and it turned into a little entity into itself. So fast forwarding to where we are now, we obviously were asked to do a follow-up album, and that being said, we decided if we're going to do it, we're going to do it as a band, as opposed to the first album, where an individual situation where everybody kind of came up with their own ideas and we pieced them together via the internet and via just sending files to each other. This time around, we actually worked on things together as a band, and I think the album is reflective of that.
Yeah, I got the advanced copy, and I wasn't really familiar with Work of Art, or I knew a little of Eclipse, but really hadn't listened to them. And when I listened to the album, then I went back and listened to, of course, I was familiar with your work, but listened to Eclipse, listened to Work of Art, and you can really tell in this new album and the first album as well, you can hear little bits and pieces of each act and how it's all kind of blended together to make W.E.T. And I tell you what, I love this new album. I was really impressed with it.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and I'm a big fan of what the other guys are doing on their own, and that's what makes it so special and unique. It's I wouldn't necessarily do an album the way they do their albums, the way they do their other bands. I wouldn't do those kind of records myself. But when we get together and do an album like this, it's so reflective of who we all are, but yet it still sounds like its own entity. It doesn't sound like any one of their bands as much as it doesn't sound like Talisman. So that's what's really cool about when you can get those kind of minds together and kind of form a chemistry the way we have.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm listening to the album. I've been listening to it for the past couple of days, and every song, very impressed with it. Every song is good. It's not like a filler song here or there. It's just one of those albums you can listen to, one of those rare albums you can listen to start to finish, and you can just sit back and enjoy the ride. And one of the things I noticed about the album, it's really kind of an uplifting album. You know, if you're going into this and thinking, oh, you know, life's bad and I've got this going on, there's just a lot of songs that really are about overcoming and moving on. Was that sort of a concept that you guys came up with going into this, or is that just how the writing process worked out? Yeah,
it just happened to be how it worked out. I mean, a lot of the songs that I had to do with the lyric writing, I'm reflecting on personal things that have gone down, especially some of the negativity in the sense of losing my longtime partner of Talisman, Marcel Jacob. There are a couple of lyrics that are actually pertaining to what he might have been going through, and kind of finding a positive outlook as opposed to the negative outlook that ended up him taking his own life. I try to take anything of a negative stature and try to show a positive light, especially in this kind of music. I mean, that's one of the reasons why this music was so fun and it was so great back in the 80s as well. It had more of a fun, positive spirit. There was nothing really too serious and heavy. You know, the grunge period kind of covered that side of things, but this music was just more uplifting and was more. It gave you more of a reason to smile, and that's what we're trying to offer, I guess, with what we're doing with these albums.
Well, it really comes through because I mean, if it wasn't 15 degrees here in Northwest Pennsylvania, I would want to, you know, take the top down and just go, go for a drive and crank this album up, because it really is a good, fun album to listen to. I really enjoyed it.
Well, my brother, I hate to rub it in, but it's literally 75 degrees outside my door, and when I hang up with you, I'm going to put the top down and crank the album as I'm heading off to the market here. But I feel bad for you guys. You guys are getting hit hard out there.
Yeah, it's 2 days ago it was 65 degrees, and today it's 15. So that's what we've come to expect.
Yeah, I guess it's par for the course living where you do.
Yeah, exactly. Just wanted to ask you about the writing process, because I mean, you've worked with so many of your own band, so many artists that you've done vocals for. Do you go into something like W.E.T or any project trying to, I guess, go into with a different kind of mindset, so things don't sound, because I've listened to a lot of your stuff, and really each entity sounds specific to itself. I listen to a lot of your work, and nothing really sounds like you're repeating yourself. Do you have to really make a conscious effort to do that, or is it just come with working with different people?
Yeah, the only time I have to really do that is if the song calls for it. I mean, I as you said, I've done so many different things with so many people, and I'm not going to use my Steel Dragon rock star voice to sing one of the W.E.T ballads, or even one of the more commercial W.E.T songs, or even something of my own solo stature. I try to fit the character of my voice for whatever the song calls for, and a lot of the W.E.T material calls for that more clean, high tenor voice that I haven't done in a long time. I mean, I was able to do it with Journey, but when I was with them for the short time, but I don't necessarily do that style of singing with my own stuff, because I just like it to be more raw and more just rock and roll in your face. So with W.E.T, it more calls for it. It seems to fit better for me to sing that way than I would approach it more of a heavy metal or more of a screamer mentality. And gladly, I have enough influence in me that I can kind of change the tonality here and there for whatever the song calls for.
Oh, awesome. I tell you what, that's one of the things I liked about, especially, and there's some things of yours that I haven't listened to in a while. I went back and started listening to the old Yngwie Malmsteen stuff, and yeah, that's one of the things I enjoyed, because it never sounded like from one project to the next, like I was listening to the same thing over again, and I think that's a true testament to you as a singer. And one of the reasons why I think so many people, so many bands really call on you to be a part of their album, it's got to be, I guess, a really boost to the ego when so many of your peers appreciate what you do and want you to be a part of what they're putting out.
Well, sure, and that really is more of a testament to my influence and inspiration growing up. I as a kid, it was all about R&B, Motown, and a lot of the same things that even Steve Perry listened to before he started with Journey. He was influenced more by black soul music, more so than rock and roll. And I think that was such an important factor that I was able to bring into what I do, because when I got into metal, before I joined Yngwie, I was really into metal. I pretty much put everything else aside, and I devoted my life into just singing and listening to hard rock music. But then I got bored with it, as I do with a lot of the different things that I've done in my life. I just simply get bored, and I feel like I can't just do one thing. But you usually don't find too many people in these walks of life that are in the same path with you, that want to try different things musically, that want to try different things in different genres. Usually a band wants to sound like a band and keep that kind of one style, that one sound. And I just, man, I apologize to all of them in advance. I get bored with just simply doing one thing. And I think that also shows why Talisman lasted as long as it did, because we kind of grew together with trying to challenge ourselves and outdo ourselves in what we'd done before. We tried to make something different each time we went into an album, and that kept me interested in being with them as long as we were together. It's a 19-year run we had with that band.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's one of the things I always wondered is, with all that you do and all the people that you work with, what is it that kind of keeps you from getting jaded over the over the years? As many songs as you've written, how does it stay fresh for you?
It's just my life, man. It's like breathing, eating. It's like conversation with friends. It's just a part of me. I don't even think about all the factors that I should be angry about or should be bitter about in this business, and there are a lot to be bitter and angry about.
Yeah, sure.
I just look at the big picture of what it does for me and what it does for other people, and that's my motivation every single day when I'm doing music. Is even talking about it right now. It's all about how it makes me feel, and it's part of my soul and my life. I can't do anything else and feel the same satisfaction. Therefore, all the bitterness, angry, negativity, and all that stuff just kind of goes out the window, because I just look forward to doing music so much.
And it really, like I said before, it really should. You can tell that passion when you listen to some of the stuff you're doing, of course, with Talisman over the years, and the stuff you're doing now with W.E.T, and of course your solo work as well. It really, that passion, it shows through. And I certainly hope so. And that's one of the things in. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, that's okay. One of the things that I try to do in everything I do is just keep it real.
Yeah.
People can see right through it if you're just doing it for money, if you're just doing it to kill time, or doing it for stature or networking. For me, it's everything I do, I want to do it. And probably why I have such a body of work behind me. It's hard to say no to things that I really want to do, especially things that challenge me and put me in another likeness that I normally wouldn't do on my own. Like, say, for instance, Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It's completely out of my wheelhouse, but it gives me something more interesting to actually add to that wheelhouse. And for me, that's what it's all about. It's all about challenging myself.
Yeah, and as a fan and as a listener, that's we can tell that, and that's one of the things I'm so grateful to be able to talk to you, because it's you're one of those guys that just I've listened to a lot of the newer stuff from older bands that come out, and sometimes you hear stuff that's great, and sometimes you hear you feel like they're just cashing it in, and and a lot of the stuff that you're putting out now, I've never felt that you were just cashing in. You can tell that passion in there.
I appreciate that, man. It means a lot.
Now, as I said, you've done lots of things. And I got to get your take on this, because I'm a huge Saigon Kick fan, and of course you worked with Jason on Talisman, and actually did some backing vocals for their first album, which was kind of cool. When I was at 91, when I'm 17 years old, I buy the album. I'm looking through the liner notes, and I see Jeff Scott Soto. I'm like, hey, that's that guy from Yngwie Malmsteen. What were your thoughts when you found out they were getting back together?
Well, I knew of it all along. I mean, I've been through the yes, we're going to do it, the no, we're not going to do it. For the past year and a half, I've heard yes and no from those guys. I'm really still close to I'm close to both Jason Beeler and Chris McClernand of the band, and I talk to them all the time just about general things more so than music. And so whenever they're even contemplating any of the next moves, I'm privy to that information. So when they said they were really doing it for sure, for good this time, it was going to actually happen. I was so happy because I love that band. I love the combination of what they actually did together, and I really do hope that it springboards into something with further material, and they can actually find the same kind of valor that I do doing music, that they'd want to do some more together.
Yeah, I know. That's I'm such a huge fan of theirs, and they were so unique, and I liken them to bands like Alice in Chains. They were just so much more than what was going on at the time. And
I even told Jason when I said, if you're really serious about doing this and you need a roadie, call me.
I'd take that job too. I don't know what I would do. I can't really do anything, but I'd lift boxes or whatever to be a part of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't even do that. Maybe I'd lift a cowbell or something.
Now, speaking of artists that you've done backing vocals for and done other work with, is there any? Do you have like a bucket list of artists that you haven't worked with that you want to work with before it's all said and done?
Not really. I mean, I've kind of achieved that side of things, and more times than not, I've been disappointed by working with certain people that I've always felt a knack or a yearning to work with. So at this point, I'd rather leave it unsaid, if you know what I mean.
No, I know.
I'd rather, if there's a hero, somebody I want to work with, I'd rather leave it as I wonder what would happen thought as opposed to actually doing it, because I'd probably be sorely disappointed. And as I said, I've done enough of these kind of tribute albums and appearances and things that have allowed me to do things with so many others that at this point I'm looking at the big picture here. I'm looking at the continuation of getting my name out there and trying to make this 29-year overnight success actually happen.
Now, are you going to be, I'm sure you're going to be doing some touring to support the album coming out on the 26th, but any chance some U.S. dates?
Well, we're actually working on that right now. Before, when people were asking about doing dates, it was difficult for us to even contemplate it based on just having one album. I mean, we have 3 other bands that the band's derived from that we could have tapped into creating a show out of. But then you're doing basically every song on the album or not, and filling the other time with other things and trying to force in an actual show. Now we have 2 albums under our belts. Now it feels real. Now there's more of a reason to actually put it together and do it live, as we actually recently did 2 weeks ago. We filmed our second live show that we've ever done together for a DVD that's going to be coming out sometime this year. In Stockholm we did it, and it went so well. We did a lot of new stuff that people had never heard before. We sold it out. We were all just blown away. We're all still blown away by the success of this album. The success of this band and the interest. And the fact that it sold out in a place like Stockholm, where those 2 bands are from, Work of Art and Eclipse, and those guys are lucky to generate, maybe a handful of people here and there for their shows. Yeah. We sold it out, and it's just a great feeling that people want to see us, they're interested in us, and they're interested in this, that yes, we're planning on following it up even further.
Oh, awesome. Well, I can't wait for the DVD, one, and hopefully you're coming around here sometime, because I'd love to see W.E.T. live.
Well, yeah, like I said, we're working on it, and as long as things that are happening, even with fine folks like yourselves, is showing interest and helping us spread the word and pushing it, you never know. There might be a chance to finally get this band, and even to get myself, this is the country that I live in and the country I'm from, to play in front of my people again. Yeah. So this could actually be the reason to get us out here in the U.S., just to get W.E.T. doing it.
Oh, great. And that's the one of the things that it really has disappointed me over the past years is, the rock scene here in the U.S. as opposed to over in Europe.
Right.
It's to the point now where you've got an Italian label like Frontiers, which is really now the forerunner and at the forefront of hard rock and metal as far as putting out albums. And it's a shame that the rock scene here in the U.S. has gotten that far, but hopefully, with bands like W.E.T, we'll get that back, get that sort of, America's always about rock and roll. And
absolutely. And if we could be a part of that, more power to us, more power to the music, more power to the people. I sound like a 70s ad right now. it's true. We're all in this together, and if we can, if we all have the same idea of making it happen, it will happen.
Excellent. Well, the album is called Rise Up from W.E.T. It's your second album as a group together, and it's coming out on February the 26th. Can't wait for it. Like I said, I got the advanced copy, but for the listeners, I can't wait for them to get. Of course, we'll be playing the first two singles, Learn to Live Again and Love Heals on Big Hair Saturday night. And for those, waiting for the album to come out, what do they have to look forward to with it?
They have, I hope, I can never predict or I can't put thoughts into people's heads, but I'm hoping they're going to like it as much, if not more, than the first album. They're going to see all the intents and purposes that we had behind it, and that's to make people see and believe that it's actually a real band now. And I just want to follow up with it and play live and get this music out to everyone. Well,
I'll tell you what, if anybody, I mean, it's such a great blend. Of course, your vocals. It's got some of the heaviest guitars that I've heard in a while. I mean, it's really a heavy album, but very.
It is amazing. It's amazing that we can take as heavy as the songs are, that we can still make them accessible and kind of radio friendly, whatever that term means anymore. It's really cool. It's a great blend of all that stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the most hardcore of metalheads is gonna love the heaviness. But like you said, it's accessible. Somebody that's not into necessarily the heavier metal is still going to be able to enjoy it as well. And
exactly,
I think that makes for a great album.
Thanks, man, and that's what we're aiming for.
Well, thank you for calling up and talking to us. And of course, as I said, W.E.T. Rise Up coming out on February the 26th. Thanks for talking to us, man.
Right on, my pleasure.
So there you have it. That's my interview in its entirety with none other than W.E.T. frontman Jeff Scott Soto, and of course from all his other great acts that he's been a part of throughout the years. And again, I want to thank Jeff for calling in. I also want to thank Smitty from S&P Unlimited for hooking us up with the advanced copy of W.E.T. Rise Up and hooking me up with Jeff for a great interview. Really a great guy, a lot of fun to do. And, of course, check out the new album from W.E.T. Entitled Rise Up, coming out on February 26th here in the States. Worldwide, I believe, or in Europe, I believe it's coming out on the 22nd, if I'm not mistaken, but the 26th here in the United States. And, of course, a great album. And I'll be doing an album review on it sometime here in the near future. I know I'm backed up on album reviews. I got a couple recorded, just haven't edited down, and do want to re-record my T&N album reviews, so those will be coming out soon, I promise. But I wanted to get this out as soon as possible because good interview. I really enjoyed getting a chance to talk with Jeff Scott Soto. So I want to thank everyone for checking out the video. Check out my other videos. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like the video, and while you're checking that out, look for the Reno fan page on Facebook at reno.com/Renoholics. There'll be a little web address right there sometime here in a second or so, maybe already. Also check me out on my Twitter. I'm actually tweeting a lot more, so check it out at twitter.com/Reno_was. Again, have a little thing right there. Follow that. And because trying to, we're not streaming yet on Was. My company, I think, feels it's a fad. It's going to go away, but until something like that happens, which will hopefully be here in the near future, everyone is clamoring for it. Do want to get what I'm doing on Big Hair Saturday night and what I'm doing on my show, and just things I'm trying to do in general out to a broader audience. So the internet and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, I think, is a great way to do that. So please follow me on all that, and hopefully you enjoy the stuff I'm doing. And if not, you can make fun of me. Although you can't do it on the comments because I block those. People ask me why just to keep trolls under control. People that get around just to cause trouble. But you can find me on all my other accounts and comment and stuff, and really like your feedback. So check it out. Check out the other videos, and I want to thank everyone for tuning into this one. Until next time, keep on rocking.